Today in class, we learned to take a ratio table and plot it on a graph so that we could see the relationship between the two quantities is quite linear in a proportional relationship. Tonight, we're going to look at how to find a unit rate from a graph. And there's a couple ways to do that, and I'd like you to pull this sheet out if you would. This is what we did in class today, and we're going to see how a couple of ways that we can find the unit rate from a graph using this before we move on to the homework problems. Okay. The first thing I want you to notice is that the easiest way to pull a unit rate off of a graph is simply to go to the 1 on the x-axis or the independent axis, and you're going to go straight up until you hit the line, and then you're going to go straight over until you hit the y-axis, and that is going to be your unit rate. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 miles in this case. 4 miles in 1 hour. So my unit rate would be 4 miles per hour. Okay, that's one way that we can do it, is to simply go to the 1 on our graph and go straight up and over, because we want to find out, of course, how much change there has been in one whatever unit this is on the x-axis. Hour, pound, minutes, enemies defeated, whatever it is. So that's the easiest way, 4 miles in 1 hour. You'll notice over here we can do the same. This is 4, and it's just above the line there, so 4 and change, and we happen to know from the table that it's 4.17. $4.17 for every 1 pound, or 4.17 a pound. If we come over here, books printed, we go straight up from the 1, go up and over, and we've got 5 books for every 1 minute, or 5 books per minute. Okay. Now another way we can use a graph to find a unit rate, for example, sometimes the graph that we're provided is not it's not easy to calculate the unit rate. So for example, one of the homework ones tonight, if you go straight up from the 1, you end up somewhere in the middle between 1 and 2, and it's tough to say what the fraction is exactly. And so it would be difficult to estimate that. So we need a different method as well. And so what I want to show, will you go ahead and use this book printing example here. What I want us to see is that we can use the change over any amount of time. So let's say we went all the way out here to 5 minutes. Okay, and if we follow this line up, and then over 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, there's 25 books in 5 minutes. What we learned 2 nights ago in homework is that we can simply divide them to find the unit rate. So 25 books divided by 5 minutes, and you get 5 books per minute. The same result that we got from going straight up from the 1. Okay? So the idea then is that as long as your line goes through the origin, through 0, 0, that means it's a proportional relationship, then you can use any point, actually. So let's just try this one, for example. This is 3 minutes, and that's 15 books. 15 books in 3 minutes also divides to give you 5 books per minute. So any point will work. And so if you have a problem like you do on the homework tonight, where if you go up 1 and it doesn't intersect a line, you can just go to where there is an intersection, and you can calculate your unit rate based on that point. And a final thing that I want us to see, let's go back up to this, the first one. We're walking 4 miles in 1 hour, and we found the unit rate to be that, is that we can actually even take the change between any 2 points. So for example, let's use this point here and this point here. Okay. First of all, how many miles is he covering from here to here? Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles. So that's 8 miles. And in how much time? 1, 2 hours. Okay. So that's 8 miles in 2 hours, and that's still 4 miles per hour. The same thing we got when we found the unit rate from going directly up from the x-axis, the one on the x-axis. And this will work for any point. So I could also use this point and that one. I could come up further, and now that's 12 from this point to that point, and over 3, 12 over 3 is still 4 miles an hour. So we can find the unit rate in a few different ways. Come up from the 1 and over to the 4, over to whatever the y-axis is. You can use any point that has a good grid intersection and find the unit rate from there. And you can also just use the gap, the change from any 2 points, anywhere along our line. So now let's take a look at our homework. You can see here that if I tried to find the unit rate, we've got a science club inflating a model of a hot air balloon. The graph here shows the progress. So if I were to use the first method and go up from the 1 and then over, it's not perfectly clear what the answer will be. It looks like it's maybe around 12, 13 centimeter diameter after 1 minute. So that'd be about 13 centimeters per hour. But we need to be more precise than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the line up until I get a perfect grid intersection. And here it is, right there. I'm going to put a point there. And now I'm going to find the rate that this point represents. Okay. In this case, it's 50 centimeters in 4 minutes. Okay, so now I've got a nice ratio that I can change into a unit rate using the method we learned earlier this week. Simply 50 divided by 4. Product of 4, difference of 1, bring down the 0, 4 goes into 10 twice. Product of 8, difference of 2, bring down a 0 and a decimal, 4 goes into 25 times. So we get 12.5 centimeters per minute in this case. Make sure you always include the units in your answer if there are units involved in the problem. Okay. I'm going to show just, you don't need to do this on your homework tonight, but I do want to show you that if we use these 2 points, that we get the same result. So if I was to go from this point to this point, so from the 4-minute point to the 8-minute point, I'm going to increase my diameter by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So it's still 50. And then the amount of time it took to increase by 50 centimeters is 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. So my ratio is still going to be 50 centimeters for every 4 minutes. All right. So your homework tonight is to complete number 2, number 3, and number 4. On number 4, I provide you with the ratio table. I would like you to plot the points and then find the unit rate either using the table or your graph.